More and more people are leaving California for a variety of reasons. Like-minded people joined a Facebook group to share their experiences. The founder of the group says the main reason is the high cost of living.
Leaving the Golden State is bringing people together. Terry Gilliam is the founder of the Facebook groups called Leaving California and Life After California. He told California Insider Siamak Karami he started back in 2018.
California just kept progressing and progressing in a direction I was not happy with. And I believed I wasn't the only person who was not happy living in California. So I started this Facebook group called Leaving California. I saw businesses leaving. I saw articles in the paper about businesses leaving. I saw news articles and people leaving. And so what I did was I just set up Google Alerts and I just started posting those in the group. And it really grew organically.
Gilliam said people leave for a variety of reasons. Their votes don't count, and the cost of living is high.
There's just so many negatives, and really it's almost like the straw that breaks the camel's back. At some point, people reach a breaking point, whether they're trying to buy their first home. You know, how much are you putting down if you're trying to buy your first home, which is a two-bedroom condo for $800,000? You know, you're putting down $90,000. Well, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's completely out of reach. So there's a whole housing shortage issue.
Gilliam says although the weather is great, there's overall more negatives than positives. Those include homelessness, inflation, which is currently around 10%, and tax increases.
We had the climate change taxes that they inaugurated. Well, that greatly increased the cost of gasoline,
gas and all that.
And power. You know, I lived in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, in a 2,500 square foot home. And when I first moved in, you know, my power bill was $200 a month. But by the time I left, it was running $400 a month, you know, just a couple of years later. And that's you know, to double that, just that one thing alone. And every year, of course, property taxes go up 1% because your houses are going up in value. So, you know, food prices, everything contributes to that.
Gilliam believes that lawmakers' answer to any problem is higher taxes and more regulations, which increases both the cost of living and the cost of doing business in the state. Most of the people in his group chats are in their 30s and 40s and females.
98% of the people are thrilled that they left. They can't believe how great life is outside of California, just from being able to relax more, have a friendly neighbor, you know, walk down the street and not worry about a homeless person coming up and asking you for money or well, like I had in San Francisco, I had a homeless guy throw a cup of coffee at me. You know, I didn't say a word to him, but he threw a cup of coffee at me. You don't have to worry about that in most of the rest of the country. And guess what? You can go to a restaurant on a regular basis because you have disposable income because you're not taxed to death.
The United States Census for the last 2 years has shown that California, for the first time in its history, is shrinking in population. Much of the outflow is from San Francisco and Los Angeles to states with lower taxes. His group, Leaving California, has 92,000 members, and his Life After California group has over 170,000 members. Both are private.
PayPal has added a misinformation clause back to its user agreement, but it isn't directly saying users could be fined for it. Weeks ago, the company said the clause was added to its user agreement by mistake.
PayPal has added a misinformation restriction to the company's user agreement. As of Thursday afternoon, providing false, inaccurate, or misleading information is a restricted activity for PayPal users as per the company's user agreement. The user agreement then goes on to explain consequences for restricted activities, saying you will be liable to PayPal for the amount of PayPal's damages caused by your violation of the acceptable use policy. You acknowledge and agree that $2,500 per violation of the acceptable use policy is presently a reasonable minimum estimate of PayPal's actual damages. This has led many to speculate that the controversial misinformation fine is back, although the policy isn't clear because the misinformation clause was only added to restricted activities, but not to the acceptable use policy, which is to what the $2,500 fine applies to. In a statement to NTD, a spokesperson for PayPal said only users who violate the acceptable use policy may be fined. Earlier this month, PayPal removed the misinformation part from its users agreement. Back then, the company said the clause was added by mistake. In response, various Republican senators sent a letter to the company's CEO, saying PayPal has consistently spread the dubious claim that this provision was never intended to be inserted in our policy, as stated by a company spokesperson. If accurate, this statement indicates an astonishing lack of internal oversight at PayPal. The senators gave PayPal until Friday to explain the processes and values that allowed the policy to move forward. Reporting by Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Shares of Facebook parent company Meta dropped a whopping 25% today, with $80 billion wiped off its market cap. It's more than one-fifth of its market value. The company reported earnings late yesterday, and it was not good, as earnings report shows. NTD's Sean Marshall has the details.
Meta has a number of unique problems for a giant tech company. After it announced earnings that missed analyst expectations, Meta shares dropped over 20%. They're in a serious battle with Apple, multiple digital media uphill battles, and it's transforming its business at a pretty rough time. In the recent earnings call, Mark Zuckerberg shared Meta's focus.
In 2023, we're going to focus our investments on a small number of high-priority growth areas. So that means that some teams will grow meaningfully, but most other teams will stay flat or shrink over the next year.
Now, here's the part of the call where Zuckerberg sounded a little less confident.
So it's hard to have like a simple, we're going to do this one thing and that's going to solve all the issues. I mean, there's macroeconomic issues. There's a lot of competition. There's ads challenges, especially coming from Apple.
In the battle of Apple versus Meta, here's what's happening. Apple quietly updated its App Store rules to require that iOS developers use in-app purchases, which gives Apple a 30% commission from the app's revenue. And if that's not enough, Apple is also investing in virtual reality and augmented reality. They're set up to be a major competitor against one of Meta's biggest investments. For Meta's future, Zuckerberg is looking to further leverage artificial intelligence, and he believes their messaging apps are a fairly undermonetized resource. He mentioned their click-to-click ads are worth $9 billion. He also said he believes they can build a substantial-sized business around paid messaging. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
A California public school teacher was arrested last week for her alleged connection in the disappearance of a teenager. Officials say the teen was gone for nearly 2 years.
61-year-old Olga Olivares, a public school teacher in Sacramento, was arrested last Thursday for her suspected involvement in the 2020 disappearance of a teenager. The teen returned home 2 years later. Michael Ramirez, who was 15 when he disappeared, was reported missing on June 9, 2020. A statement released by the Rancho Cordova Police Department said, quote, on March 11, 2022, nearly 2 years after being reported missing, Ramirez inexplicably returned home. Sheriff officials said that a thorough investigation led them to the arrest of Olivares, who is currently employed as a second-grade teacher at the Alice Bernay Waldorf-inspired K-8 school in Sacramento. The Sacramento City Unified School District confirmed in a statement to KTVU that Olivares currently remained a district employee. The statement said the charges filed are for acts unrelated to the employee's assigned duties. The employee has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of a district investigation. As this is a personal matter, Sac City Unified has no further comment. Olivares has been charged with one felony count of concealing a minor and one misdemeanor count of luring a child away from their parents without their parents' consent. CBS 13 reported that she appeared in Superior Court on Monday and was granted a zero-bail pretrial release. She was also given a no-contact order with Ramirez and his two guardians. Olivares is scheduled for court in December. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
In Southern California, a county has unanimously agreed to the extension of a dog training program that focuses on inmate rehabilitation that also gives rescued dogs a second chance at a new life. County officials say the program has been a huge positivity and success for both inmate rehabilitation and the shelter dogs who have been adopted into forever homes.
Last week, the Orange County Board of Supervisors unanimously agreed to a 3-year extension of a rehabilitation program for inmates. That program allows them to give rescued dogs obedience training before adoption. The program is operated by a nonprofit organization called Cell Dogs. According to the organization's website, Cell Dogs harnesses the power of the human-animal bond and transforms lives by setting a new course for shelter dogs and incarcerated individuals. The nonprofit, in collaboration with the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the Orange County Animal Care, offers inmates the opportunity to gain hands-on dog training experience. From that, they can develop life skills and positive lifestyle changes, as well as prepare for success upon release. Jeanette Thomas, the founder of Cell Dogs, started the nonprofit 15 years ago. She told the Epic Times that the dogs in the program receive crate training, potty training, basic obedience commands, and cute tricks before being offered for adoption. Thomas added that the program does not receive any government funding and is completely self-sustained through donations and fundraising.